This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, now I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing, that Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing, that Super Bowl ring. Yeah. We in the lab room.
Louie T, welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Wild Card Weekend in the National Football League playoffs. Playoffs? These teams are just hoping they can win another game to get them to the divisional round of the postseason. We're down to our final 12, but before we can get there, they've got to win in Wild Card Weekend. We start with the Saturday matchups. 2 of those on the slate, the first of which is at 4:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. The 4 seed in the NFC, Carolina Panthers, taking on the number 5 seed, Arizona Cardinals, in what should be a fascinating football game because these 2 teams are evenly matched in my estimation, both with glaring weaknesses on their football team. But at the same time, they're going in opposite directions. The Panthers are trending upwards. They played their best and most complete game of the season in Week 17 versus the Atlanta Falcons to win the division, beating them 34-3. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals are losers of 2 straight, and they have a 3rd-string quarterback in Ryan Lindley at the helm. So they're struggling right now. The sexy pick in this game, Carolina Panthers. The defense looks a lot like it did last season. They've got some young guys, some youth in there making some plays. Got a young linebacker in there helping them out. They've got Trey Boston in the secondary, had a pick 6 last week, but Nate Ben-Wickery has been a steal for them at the cornerback position. He's been playing outstanding football. Josh Norman starting to get it. Again, I say this kid has probably the most talent in that secondary, but he's a head case. But when he's on and he's mentally engaged in the game and not making silly mistakes, he's a ball player, and the light bulb is starting to come on for him. He looks like a gem in that secondary, and so they're starting to come together at the right time in Carolina. Offensively, there's still a lot of question marks. Last week, I said, and I've said this all season long, leave the kids at home. This is grown man football this time of the year. Last week, 13. Put the football on the ground twice, 2 drops in 2 huge situations. One was a deep ball that could have been a huge play for the Panthers. Early in that ball game, he dropped it. That's been a problem for him coming into the league. Hasn't really had a lot of bad drops this year, but those were some bad drops. And again, this is not the time of the year for that. So he's your best receiver. I feel like you got to get Greg Olsen involved early in the game, unlike you did 2 weeks ago against Cleveland, where he didn't touch the football until the 4th quarter. That can't happen. Needs to be more like last week. First play of the game, a pass to Greg Olsen. Get him involved as soon as possible. He is your most consistent pass catcher on this football team. Sprinkling a little bit of Jericho Cotry. You've been finding creative and cute ways to get downtown Philly Brown involved in the offense of late. So it's all starting to come together for this team. Jay Stu has been a consistent beast down the stretch running the football, and Ron Rivera has already said we're going with the hot hand of Jay Stu at the running back position. If Cam Newton can continue to play the football he's been playing of late, this team will be hard to beat in the postseason, which is why a guy like Tony Dungy has said that this is the team that he thinks has the best chance to make it to the NFC Championship game of all the dark horse teams in the postseason. I don't know about all of that, but I will say if those guys played the kind of football that they played in Week 17, Carolina Panthers are going to be tough to beat. In Arizona, a lot of questions. Right now, not enough answers. This defense we know is good. Todd Bowles, the guy heading up that defense as the defensive coordinator, is one of the best in the league. He's been out there circulating around the league circles as a name for a potential hire as a head coach. And for good reason. This defense has been good all season long, despite all of the injuries, despite not having a true threat as a pass rusher. This team has been getting it done using different schemes and blitzes to find ways to get to the quarterback. That's not the issue with this team. Defensively, they stop the run. They find ways to generate pressure on the quarterback. The problem is offensively. Can this team get it done? Your best running back, Andre Alley, no longer in service this season. You have a quarterback that is not your first string, not your second string, but your third string quarterback in Ryan Lindley. Can this offense get it together at the right time and find a way to surprise some people on the road in Wild Card Weekend? That's the big question. And because everything else I think the Cardinals feel really good about. Bruce Arians, never lacking for confidence, said, hey, we're going to win this game. He's all but guaranteed a victory versus the Carolina Panthers. So he seems to feel like Ryan Lindley, who I thought played his best game last week despite the 3 interceptions versus the 49ers. I thought that he let the ball loose, threw for well over 300 yards, got Michael Floyd involved in the offense, who I think is an integral part to the success of this team. If they're going to score points offensively, he needs to be a big threat for them down the field, and he was last week. They need to find ways, though, to get other guys involved. Larry Fitzgerald needs to be a bigger part of the offense. So does Sheriff John Brown and Jerron Brown. These guys need to all find their way into the scheme of the offense and get their hands on the football. There are enough playmakers on this Arizona Cardinals football team for them to make some plays and score some points, but Ryan Lindley is pulling the trigger. He's going to have to do a better job of making sure that he takes care of the football, 1, and 2, when opportunities present themselves down the field to make plays, he's got to hit them. They have to stay out of 3rd and longs. They don't want to find themselves in 3rd and 7 and 8 and 9 in this game. Panthers had 6 sacks, forced 3 turnovers, 2 of which went to the crib last week against the Atlanta Falcons. They don't want to find themselves in a situation where the Panthers know they can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. Stay in 3rd and manageable situations. By doing that, you will give yourself the best chance to win, especially without having a legit running game. They've got some options. I like Marion Grice, but I like him better as a pass catcher out of the backfield. They've had Kerwin Williams coming out of the backfield as well. He's the guy that I like his running style a little bit too, but again, you want to have opportunities to push the football down the field. Your best down to do that on, 1st and 10. If you're the Arizona Cardinals, take advantage of some opportunities. Ryan Lindley is going to have to play some flawless football in order for them to have a chance. I think Kelvin Benjamin for the Panthers going to have to make some plays. I think if they're going to have success offensively, he needs to make at least 2 big plays in this game, one of them preferably being a touchdown. When it's all said and done, everybody is on the bandwagon of the Panthers. I have not been all season long. I'm still not 100% sold on this Panthers team. Now, the Cardinals, I've been a huge proponent of them all season long, but they aren't playing great football right now. But something tells me that Bruce Arians is going to devise a way to get it done against this Carolina Panthers team. I feel like Ryan Lindley is going to do enough. He looked competent enough last week. And that's why I think they can win, because of his performance last week, letting the football go against an aggressive 49ers defense. He was able to push it down the field and get some points on the scoreboard and create some yardage in the passing game. Now, again, he did turn it over. If the Panthers can generate turnovers, they will win this game. But I expect him to stay relatively clean, allow this defense to stifle the Panthers' offensive attack, and give themselves a chance to win. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals in a defensive struggle, 16-10 over the Carolina Panthers. You go on to the nightcap of the Saturday games, which finds the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, your 3 seed in the AFC Conference, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, the 6 seed in the AFC Conference at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your network is going to be NBC. So, this is some old-fashioned AFC North family business. And if these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And so, this is the 3rd time these two teams have met this season. The home team has been the victor both times. So, right there, you know the advantage lies with the Steelers. But they've got a tremendous injury in this game to their star running back, L.Bell, Le'Veon Bell. And without his services in this game, I worry about the Pittsburgh Steelers' ability to not only run the football, but more importantly, and I think this is the fact that goes somewhat swept under the rug, his ability in the passing game to protect. We know he can catch it out of the backfield. They have guys that can catch the football out of the backfield, okay? His ability to protect Ben when teams decide to bring pressure on 3rd downs, uncanny. You take him out of the lineup, and last week, Ben threw his only interception of the game when Le'Veon Bell went down, and they had to bring in a smaller back like Dre Archer to protect on 3rd down. Cincinnati brought pressure, ran Dre Archer over, got to Ben, put pressure on him. Ben rushed his throw, threw a pick to Reggie Nelson. So, again, these are the things that worry me in this game. The Ravens can get to the quarterback. T. Sizzle still gets to the quarterback. Elvis Dumerville, one of the most proficient sack guys this season. Last time I checked, he was at like 18 and a half sacks on the season. So he's been getting pressure on the quarterback all year long as Elvis Dumerville. You still have T. Sizzle on one side. They're getting Haloti Ngata back from suspension. This is a dangerous team up front. And right now, without Le'Veon Bell being able to run the football, take pressure off Ben in the passing game, not able to catch it out of the backfield, which is a huge security blanket for Ben. When nothing else is there, when all else fails, always good to know you can check it down to 26 and have him make something out of it. And also, probably most importantly, in the passing game as a protector for Ben on 3rd downs and passing situations. That's where I think his presence will be missed the most. We will see what happens and how the Steelers find a way to devise a scheme to go around and circumvent his injury in this game. They have signed Ben Tate, but again, Ben Tate hasn't been in his system long. He's been around the league a couple of different teams this season for a reason. He's not a guy you want to stake or hitch your wagon to again. They've got other backs. We'll see how the Steelers are able to circumvent this injury of arguably their most important player offensively in L.Bell, Le'Veon Bell. But from the Ravens standpoint, the Ravens have not been scoring the football offensively. And that's what, to me, is the biggest issue with this team down the stretch of the season. They've had so many situations where I expected them to do much more than they did. This dates back to week 15 against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. They barely win that game 20-12. Jacksonville was in that game, had opportunities, and the Ravens just barely escaped with the victory there. They go to Houston the next week in week 16, throw up all over themselves. Joe Flacco has a putrid day, a day to forget. They turn it over multiple times on the offensive side, including 3 interceptions thrown by Joe Flacco in that game. They lose to a practice squad quarterback in a team that has injuries galore. They lose to the Texans 25-13 in that one, and then they turn around and barely eke by the Cleveland Browns at home 20-10. They were down 10-3 in the 4th quarter of that football game before running off 17 unanswered points. So this is a team that I worry about offensively. Steve Smith has been dropping a lot of balls of late. They've been struggling to protect Flacco at times. This is something that I think they're going to have to figure out. Justin Forsett has been the main cog and the most consistent piece of their offense all season long. His running and his ability to make guys miss, and when he gets space to make it count, has been a huge lift for this Ravens offense. Will he have that space against the Steelers? That's a part of this Steelers team that I think has been improving of late. The defense has been getting much better down the stretch, but it hasn't been a strong suit of this team all year long. We'll see if they're going to continue on the upward trend with their defense and continuing to play better football, or are they going to start being gashed once again defensively? We will find out. To me, the Steelers are at home. They still have a lot of weapons, including Antonio Brown, who to me should be in the discussion for MVP of the league. You also have Big Ten Martavis Bryant, who's in the mix as a big play threat for the Steelers. And you got Marcus Wheaton, a guy that we don't talk about a lot, but has been a huge benefactor of Big Ten coming onto this roster and allowing him to fit into his slot. He is a huge contributor on this offense as well. Of course, you still got Heath Miller. There's still enough playmakers on this team for the Steelers to do enough to win this game. I like the Steelers in this spot. I'm not so sure that the Ravens can score enough points to win, but I will say this. The Ravens know how to get it done come postseason time. That's when they do their most damage. You don't want to sleep on the Ravens because they've been here, done that before. But I like the Steelers in this spot, despite not having Le'Veon Bell's services in this game. Give me the Steelers to score 26 and hold the Ravens down to 20 points, or 17 points in this game. Steelers find a way to get it done and move on to the divisional round of the postseason. That's going to do it for Wild Card Weekend Saturday matchups. I'm looking for your predictions to these games. And again, we're going to keep track like we did last year, so make sure you come with your best because nothing else is going to do. So that's going to do it for me here in the Lab Room. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as we'll break down the Sunday games in Wild Card Weekend shortly. But enjoy the Saturday football. I'm pretty sure you've enjoyed the playoff college football action. There'll be a lot more to come in the National Football League. We'll break it all down here in the Lab Room. See you in a bit.
In the Lab Room.